students and young adults aren't reading as much. The 20 to 30 bracket and even the 30 to 40 bracket that's moved up, they're spending less money on books and less money on reading. There's been a lot of studies about how that market spends its discretionary income, and a lot of the attention that has been spent on how do you spend your money, and they look at, are you spending it on DVDs, are you spending it on video games, are you spending whatever. One of the things that they don't take into account is other places that they're spending money on, cell phone bills, internet bills. And that's eating up a lot of discretionary income. And there's people just are more accustomed to reading on screens. So, book sales are dropping, and we as publishers are really struggling with finding, where's our future? Where are we going to go? There's the, some people point to the ebooks like the Amazon Kindle, the Sony Reader, the B&N Nook, which has a title that I won't elaborate on when I think of the title. The B&N Nook, and there's actually a whole host of other devices that are coming out. Those are, as far as I'm concerned, those aren't so much going to grow the market as just preserve kind of where we are now. Somebody who's not accustomed to buying books is not going to go out and spend $250 on a device to read books, and therefore we're just moving print sales to digital sales, which has a lot of troubling concerns as well, because the expectation for digital books is that they cost less than a print book, when in fact the vast majority of a print book's price is not what we call PP&B, paper printing and binding. I'm sorry, paper plant and binding, PP&B. The vast majority of the cost is all that's gone into the book prior to, it being set onto the page. It's the author's advance, it's the agent's cut, it's the editorial costs, it's the marketing cost, it's copy editing, it's all those host of other things. That's where that, on the $25 list price book, that's where those costs are. And one of the things that I because I do spend time working on things like Amazon's Kindle, and Sony's Reader, and now B&N, I sort of lurk on a ebook forum called Mobile Read, and it's interesting to me that there's enormous discussion about what price publishers charge for books, and the vast majority of these very enthusiastic readers' opinions is that we as publishers are ripping them off because we're not charging $3 or $4 for a digital download. And of course, I don't comment on it because there's just no way to win the argument. But there's and then of course with some of the ebook companies, they are actually subsidizing the cost of the ebooks that they're selling for their devices. They're selling the device, and they may be selling it for $250 or $400, depending on which model it is, and they are then. They then take the publisher's list price, and they take, and they then say, okay, we're going to charge $10 for this book, even though we know we're going to pay the publisher based upon the publisher's price being $15. We're going to subsidize some of this cost, with our hope being that we're going to, first of all, sell enough devices, and second of all, take enough of the share of this marketplace that will become a big enough player in this field that we can then renegotiate with the publishers and and come back and set the price point at what we think the market will bear. They're taking a gamble on the $10 price with the hope that they will be able to force publishers' hands into lowering the list price. So it's we're at a real crossroads, and then so that's the market that we already have. Those are readers. Then there's all those people that don't read, and then there you come into things like some of the readers for the iPhone. Of course, people have already spent money for their phone, and they've already maybe they'll pick it up. Pick up a book as an incremental add-on, and for those readers, maybe $10 is too much, but we really can't lower the cost much. And then what some publishers are doing, my company not included, is they're trying to sort of create added value, and by that, they're one of the ideas is what somebody's calling a VOOC. A VOOC is a video and a book combined, and they've taken elements of a book and combined video elements to it as well that are appropriate as an iPhone application, and maybe somebody will want it. Well, I don't know, maybe they will. But in the meantime, I mean, the digital stuff has changed publishing enormously in terms of how publishing reacts with authors and with agents. Traditionally, a publisher licensed a book for a period of time. The book was in print. At some point, the book sales dropped off enough. If the book was still viable, if there was still an audience for it, or if somebody thought they could market it better, the rights would revert back to the author, and the author could then sell it to somebody else. And with the traditional definition of a book being in print is available in the publisher's catalog. It's not a book in physical format. It's in print, meaning in print in the catalog. So publishers are now, because everybody's hoping to catch what we call the long tail. Publishers aren't reverting rights back to authors anymore. We're holding on to the rights. We're putting them in we're keeping things in the catalogs as being in print, and available in ebook format, or in some cases in print on demand, where you print one or two copies of a thing, or 25 or 30 copies, or whatever you need for that moment, but you don't warehouse it. That we're printing on demand. And the rights aren't reverting back to the author, but meanwhile the author hasn't been able to resell that book, get a new advance. The agent hasn't gotten a new cut of the 15, hasn't gotten their new 15% on the new sale. The book just sort of is kind of lying fallow, waiting for something to happen, or waiting for somebody to pick up on it. So that sort of slowed down an element of the publishing world that used to sort of be a lot of people's bread and butter also, which is backlist and reprint and so forth.